Welcome to Inland Empire Alive, bringing you issues, events, and perspectives from throughout San Bernardino and Riverside counties. I'm David Brady, and in today's show, I'll talk to Robin Bull, Executive Director of the Lake Arrowhead Communities Chamber of Commerce, about the business organization's mission and programs. That's today on Inland Empire Alive. Well, joining me now from the Lake Arrowhead Communities Chamber of Commerce is its Executive Director, Robin Bull.
Hello.
Welcome to the program, Robin.
Thank you.
Well, before I get into you and your background and kind of what brought you to the Chamber, let's talk about Lake Arrowhead. For those of us city folk down here at the sort of in the flatland, let's say, tell us about Lake Arrowhead and why it's such an incredible destination.
Oh, wow. Lake Arrowhead is about 90 miles away from Los Angeles, and it's a little jewel up in the San Bernardino Mountains, 5174 feet in the National Forest. We have amazing seasons because we have a Mediterranean climate. So you can be in Southern California in the heat and all of a sudden you're in the snow and you're skiing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So we also have a lot of history, and a lot of movies have been filmed there.
So what drew you there originally?
Originally, my husband was there, and he was in the film business, and I met him on an airplane. I was in the fashion business, and I was traveling all over the world. Every city you could imagine. I was in Tokyo and Paris and Milan for a lot of the high fashion companies. And when I met him, he was also from New York, but he was settled in Lake Arrowhead because it was close enough to Hollywood, but he didn't want to be in Hollywood. And he was a nature man, and he loved the mountains, and he loved the greenery and the air, the fresh air that we get up there. So it was, when I came there initially, I realized that it was a place to escape to. And at first I thought, this is strange, coming from the vibe of the city to this place where it's like an old-fashioned European town, European village. So my life started to mirror all the campaigns I started to make when I later took the job in the Chamber of Commerce. Because when I first started, it was an escape. And I would leave these cities all over the world and come to Lake Arrowhead, drive up the Rim of the World Highway, which is a historic highway, very scenic, look over the side of the mountain, and it was like, oh my God, the stress would just melt. And I think a lot of people experience the same thing. And then once I escaped, I would be able to relax, and then I would be able to explore, because there's tons of adventure and nature and wildlife and camping and hiking and things to do in Lake Arrowhead. It's beautiful. Give
me an idea of kind of the population size. So I'd imagine there's a certain percentage that are, folks that live there year round.
Yes.
And then there's probably a sizable folks that come and go as the seasons change and as the activities change throughout the year.
Yes, local population is probably around 20,000 people in the Lake Arrowhead communities proper, which covers about seven little towns. And we have a lot of second homeowners, so it's a very interesting dichotomy of people who live in these palatial estates on the lake. We have a private lake. It's one of the only ones in Southern California, Lake Arrowhead. And the rest of the community that's there all year long. So it's a community that relies on tourism, both hospitality and ecotourism. But we have more and more locals because during COVID, a lot of people realized they could work from home and escape their city too, and they came up to the mountains. So we're getting a new breath of young people and young families, so it's a great time to come to Lake Arrowhead.
Now, as someone who represents a Chamber of Commerce, tell me a bit about the mix of businesses. What are people attracted to in wanting to open a business in these areas?
A lot of it is, they're very small businesses. Like I said, they're like little European villages.
You're not going to find chains. You're not going to find the big box stores. You're going to find artisans.
Yes.
You're going to find, handmade craftsmen.
Yes, you find a lot of little things. Even I have a pet store because I like to be able to sympathize with my chamber members. So I have my own business. I run that too. And it's like a little boutique, and it kind of mirrors the climate of the mountains. So we need things that are rugged and tough and high quality and natural, because so many of us up there are all about natural. I mean, even back to the Serrano Indians who had settled there. And it became a very spiritual place for them. And even today we have a Matati hike where you can go and you can see where they used to grind the acorns on the rock formations. And it's really beautiful to see that.
Do you find that the folks that patronize these businesses are looking for that authenticity? That
Yes.
this isn't just something made, you know, on the other side of the planet, shipped here in a container. These are things that are made by the people that live here, that have lived here for generations.
Yes, yes, they love that. And they love the, like I said, the ecotourism is important because people are out in nature. So a lot of our products and a lot of our stores deal with being in nature. So you can be sitting on the lake, eating at a restaurant. You can be in Sky Park having concerts in the forest. It's a very unique place in that sense, because of the forest, the lake, the nature, and the energy, you know.
So talk to me about the mission, let's say, of a chamber, and specifically the Lake Arrowhead Communities Chamber. Sort of what do you see as kind of your guiding principles?
My guiding principles, basically the chamber is all about connection. We say that that's the heartbeat of what we do. We connect all of our members, we connect the community, because our mission is to catalyze economic growth and to strengthen the communities. So we bring people together. We have our leadership circle membership, which is, these are the leaders of the community. So we connect them through networking, through mixers, through events, through all kinds of now community type meetings where we're pulling together our future in economic development for the communities.
How vital is it that small businesses network? And especially, like you say, post-COVID, where
Yes.
you know, a lot of things changed, this switch, you know, to a lot of remote work. I mean, how important is it to make those connections and build those bridges?
It's extremely important because we're a small town and we so love that part of it, but it's quiet and it's isolated. And so when I compare it to like my city experiences where you have a bunch of professionals where you can communicate with and talk to and solve problems with, you can't do that in the isolation of the mountains. So we make that happen. We catalyze that. We bring people together. We have events, we have learning sessions, workshops, teaching social media. We have a lot of marketing tools where we can raise the visibility of our members. And we bring the bigger elements of the community together. Like we have a hospital. Believe it or not, in a small town, we have an amazing Mountains Community Hospital, and healthcare is so important and so innovative and special in San Bernardino County. It's nice that we have a little offshoot of that. So we're this combination of like a very small town that has these luxuries of a real city. Mountain Transit, they got us a grant to do 2 years of free transit after last year we had Snowmageddon. Which kept most of us in the house for like a month or so. So on the heels of COVID, Snowmageddon, and now we're ready for our rebirth.
Well, you mentioned San Bernardino County, and I know that the Chamber receives a grant from the county's Economic Development Agency. Can you talk about some of the achievements, some of the things that the Chamber has done with the grant funds?
Yes. So we got the grant back in 2018 was when I first came into the Chamber of Commerce. And the grant had been gone for a long time because economic situation, the focus for San Bernardino County was obviously health and welfare. When Supervisor Rutherford was there and we lobbied, our chamber kept lobbying, we need money to promote our tourism. We can really be something even bigger. We need money to market our tourism. And she heard us, and when I came on, she sat me down and she said, okay, if I get this grant for the mountain communities and actually all the unincorporated chambers in San Bernardino County who were struggling with the same issues. She said, you're not gonna let me down, right? I said, no, I'm not gonna let you down. And she came through, we got the grant. That year we launched a giant billboard campaign. We said, we've just gotta be big, you know. I was taught, you know, don't think small when it's free, to think big, right? So we launched a billboard campaign, I Love Lake Arrowhead, with a bear driving a Corvette up the mountains. And at the end, we won an award. We won an Addy Award for the best billboard campaign that year. So it was pretty nice. So I think I didn't let her down. We were very proud of that. And then we continued to build on that I Love Lake Arrowhead campaign. We built a website, ilovelakearrowhead.com, for our tourism. We broke out our business and commercial message into lakearrowheadchamber.com, 2 different websites. And we've got our Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for I Love Lake Arrowhead Tourism. And we also have it for Lake Arrowhead Chamber, where it's more about networking, connection, business. High fives to our small businesses because they need it. You know, every few days we feature another business and say, look what they did. And it's been really productive to have that grant. So we're thankful.
With everything that you've been through the past couple of years, and like they've been bumpy ones, as you say.
They have.
COVID, Snowmageddon. What does the economic future look like for the mountain communities?
It is very promising because we look at the sustainability of the economy, and that's where we're at now. So we kind of take a clue from Bill Johnson and Michelle Johnson, who had developed Sky Park, which was originally Santa's Village. It closed in, I guess it was about 1998, that the whole thing had closed down. It was nothing but a bunch of logs in a forest with the bark beetle, speaking of another catastrophe. And Bill Johnson and his wife Michelle restored it to its former glory and then added nature adventures. So now it's called Sky Park at Santa's Village. So Christmas time, Santa lives there. And the summer, it's an amazing nature park with the best bike trails. Bill Johnson's a big mountain biker, so he really popularized mountain biking for our communities. Camping, RVing, they have an RV park. It's a beautiful property. So we look at that and we said, sustainable. He made the business model sustainable. When we're looking at it now, we're looking at how do we make the marketing bigger, right? The grant from San Bernardino kicked it off, got us started, but now we want to grow up. Now I have the hospitality industry connecting them to examine their own TBID formation. It's called a Tourism Business Improvement District. Most people are familiar with it, but we don't have one up in the mountains. So it's a case where you can get your visitors are paying for your tourism. And then the hospitality group would branch off and form their own. Then there's another plan that we have. It's called the Active Transportation Plan. And we dusted that off because it was done back in 2018 by some of these amazing minds in our community, engineers, geologists, developers, hikers, bikers. The Active Transportation Plan is a grant that is funded by the Active Transportation Plan. So the state allocates $100 million a year from roads and revitalization of roads and transportation to active transportation. So they had a lot of foresight. This was like back in 2013. $100 million a year goes to active transportation. So they want people to move, to walk. This is modeled after Cinque Terre in Italy, where there are no cars. Everybody can walk the whole island in 6 hours. Now, it's not exactly that, but that is a goal, is to get people walking, biking, hiking. So we have the active transportation in motion, we have the TBID in motion. The active transportation plan flows into other visions, like having world-class bike trails and eventually sustainable regenerative economies. So we have a big agenda for a small town.
Robin, it sounds like the future is extremely bright. It's a great escape. I want to make sure we give people the web address. It is lakearrowheadchamber.com. The telephone number is 909-336-1547. Thank you so much. And again, come back anytime.
Thank you so much.